Hudson Raider football is brought to you by Lancer Auto Care in St. Paul and by the Hudson Benchwarmers Club. Thanks to our sponsors for their support. It's Hudson Raider football on Hudson North Hudson Community Television, and tonight we are at Gerke Field in Stevens Point for a Level 2 playoff game. The Hudson Raiders taking on Stevens Point in Division I for the opportunity to play Appleton North. Appleton North a winner today over Oshkosh North 19-12, so the winner of this game will take on Appleton North. The Raiders get here by way of a 9-1 overall record. Last week they knocked off Wisconsin Rapids 21-6 in their Level 1 game, and Stevens Point here tonight by way of a 10-0 record, 5-0 in the Wisconsin Valley Conference, and defeated Oshkosh West in Level 1 52-27. The Raiders will be receiving the opening kickoff. We'll get the ball first on offense, and the Raiders with that vaunted defense on the shelf here to begin the game as Spash's Stevens Point area senior high school, Spash is what they're known as, Isaac Groshik, to kick off to awaiting Michael Bennett and Tyler Smersna. So here we go, the playoff game about to begin, and the kick is off. It's a deep kick, and it'll go through the hands of Michael Bennett and into the end zone. That will be a touchback, and the Raider offense will come onto the field 1st and 10 at the 20-yard line. So pretty decent starting position here to start the game, but nothing great to speak of with the touchback. The Raiders will begin their first possession 80 yards from the end zone, and the Raiders come into this game off of a nice rushing effort last week, about 250 yards in that 21-6 win over Wisconsin Rapids. Here's Bo Holmes in the shotgun. Holmes fakes the give to Edholm, and he'll take it himself. Has some yards all the way down to about the 35-yard line. Nice run there by Holmes. Pickup of 15 yards, and that'll move the chains. First down, Hudson Raiders. Ball marked in the far left hash. It'll be 1st and 10 Raiders from there. So that's the way the Raiders would like to get this game started, getting Holmes off to a quick start and putting Stevens Point defense kind of a little bit on their heels there. As Holmes surveys the defense once again, 2 receivers to his right, 1 to the left. Edholm in the backfield, man in motion is Ryberg, and the give up the middle to Andy Edholm. Pick up there minimal, probably about 1 yard. So it'll be 2nd and 9. It's a short gain there by Edholm. Edholm with a nice game last week against Wisconsin Rapids, 113 yards. That adds to his season's total, makes it about 557 yards on the ground this year for Edholm. And considering he missed 2 or 3 games with that injury, that's a pretty nice season. So here's Holmes surveying the defense. Man in motion once again is Ryberg, and Holmes will keep it himself. This time nothing doing as the Stevens Point defense collapses on him. Get another minimal gain, probably 1 or 2 there, and that'll make it a 3rd down and long, 3rd and 8 for the Raider offense. So after opening this drive with a long run, the Raiders with 2 straight runs with gains of about 1 yard, needing 8 yards here to pick up the first down. Again, 2 receivers to the right, 1 to the left. This time it's Hilton in motion, and the give up the middle to Andy Edholm, and maybe 1 yard there, so the punt team will have to come onto the field for the Raiders. It'll be 4th down and a long 7 yards as Caleb Ryberg will come out to punt for the Raiders. And the Stevens Point defense, we talk about the Raiders defense all the time, but the Stevens Point defense, not too bad themselves, giving up just about 12.5 points per game compared to the Raiders' 10 points per game. The snap to Ryberg is good, and the kick is off. That ball bounces at about the 37-yard, almost hits the Stevens Point player, and I believe it did, but Point recovers That was Bryce Dominic jumping in there to scoop up that ball, and the Raiders could have had the ball deep into Panther territory had they been able to recover that. I believe that did hit a Stevens Point player, but nonetheless, it will be Spash ball on the 28-yard line, their own 28 here, as we get our first look at the Raider defense. Jazz Larson, Ethan Denauer, and company hit the field. Alex Plaster, senior quarterback for Stevens Point, sends a man in motion. And the give up the middle to number 37, Josh Matthey. Nice gain there by Matthey of about 10 yards. And last week the Raiders took on a Wisconsin Rapids team without their best running back. This week, once again, the Stevens Point team is coming into this game without their leading rusher, Austin Sikorsky, as he broke his foot last week. So Josh Matthey steps in for Sikorsky. Sikorsky averaged about 8 yards per carry, and last week Matthey in his place again in that game averaged about 6. So Plaster fakes the handoff, looking to pass, and he pulls it back down, and the Raiders give chase. It's Tyler Smersna up there to make the tackle and hold Plaster to a gain of about 3 yards there. It'll be 2nd down and 7 from their own 42-yard line for the Panthers. Nice job by Smersna coming in from the defensive backfield to make the tackle. Smersna, for all the speed and all the effort he puts onto the field, just a sophomore, so Raiders fans have something to look forward to in watching him over the next couple years. 2 receivers to Plaster's left, 2 men in the backfield. And Plaster looks left, throws it for number 10, and looks like Smersna once again there with the tackle. Dan DeSorsi, the top receiver for the Stevens Point Panthers, and see a little bit of DeSorsi, what he can do right there in that play. But just a short gain, and it'll be 3rd down here coming up for Stevens Point. 3rd and 3 at their own 46-yard line. This time the Panthers line up in a tight formation, 3 men behind Plaster. And the give up the middle, and nothing doing there. I think the Raiders stopped him on that run. Josh Matthey pick up there of about a yard or 2. And it looks like Stevens Point will send their punt team out there, and the Raiders defense holds. So both teams trade first downs, and then both teams send the punt unit out there. This is again a defense in the Stevens Point and Hudson Raider team. Both teams have strong defenses. The punt is away, and it's a pretty good one. Be fielded by Tyler Smerson. He's wrapped up immediately. Bryce Dominic, senior defensive back for the Panthers, and he gets all over the field. Speedy guy, Bryce Dominic. So the Raiders will start their 2nd possession of the night from their own 10-yard line as the return from Smersna goes nowhere. Raiders line up with 2 receivers to the left. Holmes sends Ryberg in motion, and he'll keep it himself across the 15 to the 20 before he's brought down at about the 21-yard line, and that should be enough for another Hudson Raider first down. So far on 1st and 10, Bo Holmes has been the way to go, picking up first downs in both series now.
First down Raiders.
And the Raiders with that win last week against Wisconsin Rapids, that was their 2nd playoff victory in the modern era. They won in Division II back in 2003. This time Holmes gives it to Tyler Smith. Tyler Smith around the corner, makes a man miss, and all the way up to about the 33, 34-yard line. kind of kicks the ball out of there and not sure what exactly happened. He didn't like the way he was brought down or what exactly happened, but it is a gain of 12 yards for Tyler Smith and another Raider first down, this time out to the 33-yard line. So a drive that started on its own 10, already out to the 33. And again, two receivers to the left, one to the right. Andy Edholm in the backfield on 1st and 10 from the 33. Holmes sends Hilden in motion, but the give to Andy Edholm, and he finds a hole to the outside, all the way up to about the 39-yard line. They'll mark it at about the 38. And that's a nice gain of 6 yards for Andy Edholm. Will bring up 2nd down and 4. And the Raiders have moved the ball pretty well here so far tonight against Stevens Point. This time, two receivers to the right, one to the left. Man in motion is Tyler Smith, but the give, it'll be Holmes will keep it, take it just about up to midfield, and that should be another Raider first down. Holmes seems to be calling his own number and doing it with some success tonight. That's the 3rd first down that Holmes has run for already pretty early in this ball game, not quite midway through the first quarter. It'll be 1st and 10 for the Raiders at their own 49, looking to get across midfield. This time Hilden in motion. The give once again to Andy Edholm, and he picks up maybe about a yard. Just barely over the 50-yard stripe. And the Raiders will have 2nd down and 9. But this Stevens Point team is a team that has ended the Raiders season for the last 2 years, and Raiders come into this game hoping the 3rd time's the charm. This is the first time they've met in level 2 of the Division I playoffs. Holmes sends Hilden in motion, and he'll set himself behind Holmes. The give to Hilden, and Hilden is wrapped up behind the line of scrimmage by Sam Bauer. He came right up through the middle there, and Hilden really didn't have much of a chance, couldn't get himself going. And that's a loss of about a yard and a half, which will set up 3rd down and a long 11 or short 12. So for a drive that started on its own 10 and really seemed to be marching along, set up here in a 3rd and very long situation. 2 men to the right, 1 to the left is Davey Branson. Edholm in the backfield with Bo Holmes, and it looks like Holmes will keep it himself, but this time not able to pick up the big yardage. Picks up about 3 or 4 yards before he's brought down. That should send out the punt team here on 4th down and about 8 at the 48-yard line of Stevens Point. So considering the field position, a pretty successful drive. They don't get into the end zone, don't put any points on the board, but is a pretty nice switch in field position. We'll be playing on the other side of the field here. Ryberg set to punt, and we've got a man on the Raiders side of the football coming out of his stance a bit early, and that's going to be a 5-yard penalty. Will back the Raiders up to just about where they were before that 3rd down play. It'll take it back to the 47. So Ryberg will have to set up 5 yards on the other side here and try to punt it away again. Dan DeSorsi and Bryce Dominic set to field the punt here, and takes a nice Hudson bounce down to about the 21-yard line, and that's where the Stevens Point Panthers will set up shop on offense, and the Raider defense comes back onto the field for the 2nd time. Nice set of downs the first time out, and as you can see, a pretty good crowd comes over from Hudson. A couple different fan buses and several people made the drive on their own as well. A pretty good crowd here to cheer on the Raiders tonight. So Plaster with 1 receiver on his right, 1 to his left, 2 in the backfield. And the give once again to number 37. He's pulled down, but then he breaks the tackle before Mike Bennett comes in to put a stop to it. Joey Matthey with a nice run there, and I'll tell you what, Matthey is the second string running back, but he's got a burst to him, and be interesting to see what this Spash team looks like with their starter Austin Sikorsky in there, because if this guy's the backup, their starter must be something special. Plaster this time under center. And Plaster gives it to Matthey once again. And this time, nowhere to go as Luke Hansen comes up and makes the tackle. And that could be a tackle for loss there. Loss of about 1. Nice tackle there by the senior Luke Hansen. And that will set up a 3rd down and 4 here for the Stevens Point Panthers. So far, the Raiders defense looking just as advertised. Pretty stout here tonight. This time, Plaster in the shotgun. Looks left, looks right, throws it deep. He's got a man, but it's the coverage there provided by Luke Hansen. And Hansen, a little bit of a contact, but was definitely playing the ball, and the officials let the contact go. It'll be a 4th down, and the punt team for Stevens Point takes the field. So very nicely played by Luke Hansen. 2 plays in a row there. First the tackle for loss, and that time really couldn't cover a guy much better than he did right there. So Stevens Point set to punt as the quarter is under about 2 minutes here. And the punt is fielded by Mike Bennett, and Bennett kind of gets tangled up there in a couple of a defender and one of his own men, but the flag is down. We'll have to check the flag. So far, it looks like the Raiders will be starting offense here on their own 42 as the officials discuss the penalty. You have to think about where the flag, and it was a hold against the Raiders. And where that flag was thrown, you have to really think it's against the Raiders, and sure enough it is. So that'll back them up, and they'll start the drive probably around their own 32 as the Raiders offense comes onto the field and tries to get some yards going on the other side of the field here. They've been playing on their own side. Took it out to about the 50-yard line on their last drive, but have yet to really threaten a score here. Holmes with 2 in the backfield. Andy Edholm and Caleb Ryberg. Travis Hilden, the man in motion. And Holmes will keep it himself, but doesn't get anywhere. Perhaps even a loss. We'll call it a loss of about a yard, so it'll be 2nd down and 11 for the Raiders. So that's the first time tonight that the old Holmes keeper on 1st and 10 doesn't gain 10, 11 yards to open a drive. This time just Edholm in the backfield, 2 to the left, 2 to the right. Man in motion is Ryberg, and they'll fake the handoff to him. And Holmes looking to pass, and he gets it off to Andy Edholm. Edholm with a pickup of 3 or 4 yards to about the 35. I don't know how Holmes got the ball out of there. He was being chased toward the sideline. It almost looked like he was just going to have to throw the ball away, but he did get it to Edholm and picks up 4 or 5 yards, so that'll make it a 3rd down and 6. So a lot better than 3rd and 11 that they were facing if Holmes had to throw that ball away. Manageable 3rd down situation here. Again, 2 receivers to the left, 2 to the right. They'll send Ryberg in motion. He stops in the backfield. They'll fake the handoff, and nowhere to go for Holmes. Scrambles out of there, but taken down by Tom Ogren. That was just a flat-out jailbreak by the Stevens Point Panthers, and Bo Holmes really had nowhere to go there. He had tons of white jerseys in his face and really nowhere to throw. Loss of 10 on the sack, and that's going to make this a pretty no-brainer call here to send the punt team out. But that will end the first quarter, and our score Hudson 0, Stevens Point 0. We're at Gerke Field in Stevens Point. It's home of the Stevens Point Panthers, the high school team, Spash. Also home to Stevens Point Pacelli. That's another high school in the area. And, of course, home to the Stevens Point Pointers of University of Wisconsin, Stevens Point. So this is kind of one of those fields like Eau Claire that gets used by several different teams, and it's a field turf field. There was a college game played here this afternoon, and that's why the Raiders had to play tonight at a 6 o'clock game instead of an afternoon start. The Pointers did have a game here today, but due to this field turf, really, no damage to the field. So that's the nice thing about this type of turf. It can handle several games in a day and no damage done. So the Raiders punt team on the field. Ryberg will set up shop at about the 13-yard line. And Stevens Point with Dan DeSorcy and Bryce Dominic set to field the punt. Pretty good snap, and the kick is away. It's a nice-looking kick. Fair catch called for by Bryce Dominic, and he makes the grab. So Stevens Point will start their third drive of the night from their own 49-yard line. So far, the Raiders defense looking good out there. They've given up just one first down. And this time will be put to the test as Stevens Point pretty good starting field position here at the 49-yard line. So first down and 10 for the Panthers. This time Plaster set up under center. And the give to Matthew and pickup of about 2 or 3 there. So it'll be 2nd and 7 as Sam Stevens makes the tackle at about the 48-yard line. So again, the Raiders really haven't given up a whole lot of yardage to this Panthers team so far. Looking pretty good on defense. This time the Panthers come out in that shotgun set. Plaster 5 yards behind center. And once again, the give to number 37, Joey Matthew, and Matthew picks up another 3 yards. Takes it down to the 45-yard line, so it'll be about a 3rd down and 4 from the 45. So far, the Panthers 0 for 2 on 3rd down conversions. And that's one of the things that this Raider defense does quite well is stop teams on 3rd down. This time Plaster under center, 3 guys in the backfield, including the big fella. And this time it's number 31, and he has the first down. That's Jake Tatro, 195-pound senior. And he was following the lead of 320-pound Alex Wakowiak. That's going to help open a hole, and Tatro goes through there for the first down. Pickup of 4. He needed about 3.5, and they got it. So first down and 10 for the Panthers. That's their first 3rd down conversion and their second first down of the evening. So Spash sets up shop here on the Raider 40-yard line. This time Plaster back to pass. Under pressure from Chaz Larson, gets it downfield. Looks like it's complete, and the officials say incomplete. That was Dan DeSorcy at the sideline, and the officials felt like he was juggling the ball. It certainly looked like he had both feet in. Only need one at this level, but nonetheless, the Raiders may have caught a break there. 2nd down and 10 for Stevens Point. Incredible play there by Plaster, just getting that ball out there. Sent it out there in a laser to Dan DeSorcy. It looked like DeSorcy made the grab, but ruled incomplete. So Plaster once again, this time fakes the handoff, looking left and throws it. Oh, incomplete. Adam Brandt, as the ball hit him right in the hands. sometimes you don't want to hit the guy in the hands. Hit him right in the hands, and Brandt couldn't come down with the ball. Could have been a pickup of 5 or 6. Instead, it's an incompletion. It's 3rd down and 10 for Stevens Point. So the Raiders defense able to hold this Point offense to no yards here in the last 2 downs. And Blaster comes out, 2 receivers to his left. Blaster looking downfield, and it looks like he's got a man, but it's ruled incomplete as well. This once again to Dan DeSorsi, and DeSorsi can't believe it. Not happy with the officials, but that one may have been a one-hopper there. Caught it on the bounce, say the officials, and the Panthers will have to send the punt team onto the field. So the Raiders defense hold once again, giving up just 1 first down here as Stevens Point sends the punt team to the field. And they go after it but don't get it, and it will be fielded at about the 12-yard line by Tyler Smersna. He takes it up to about the 20, called the 21, and that's where the Raider offense will take over. Tom Bierenbaum with the tackle as Bo Holmes and company come back out on the field. 4th possession of the night. They've moved the ball quite well, just haven't been able to really get a drive going. After 2 or 3 first downs, it seems like they've kind of fizzled out on offense tonight. This time the give to Edholm, and no room for Andy Edholm as he may fall forward for maybe a gain of a yard or possibly just getting back to the line of scrimmage. And that's where the officials will mark it. Pickup of maybe about a foot. So it'll be 2nd down and 10 for the Raiders from their own 21. Holmes with 2 receivers to his left, 1 to the right. Andy Edholm in the backfield on 2nd and 10. Branson in motion, and the give to Branson around the right side. He's got an opening. Takes it all the way down to about the 29-yard line. Pick of about 7 for Branson. And that'll bring up a 3rd down and 3 from the 29-yard line. So not much on 1st and 10, but on 2nd down, the Raiders go to Branson for the first time tonight, and Branson checks in there with a nice run and makes it a 3rd down and short for the Raiders. Looks like we may have a equipment timeout here for the officials. Someone in the Panthers defensive huddle looks like has a little operating to do on his helmet. And he'll have to come off the field on this 3rd down play as Stevens Point sends in another defender. That's Keith Lehman, senior defensive lineman. So Bo Holmes surveys the defense, sends Branson in motion. The give once again to Branson. He gets around the corner, and I believe he has the first down. Kind of dove forward and took the football with him, and I believe he advanced the football past the sticks. We should have a first down here, but it looks like the officials are going to measure it. Not exactly the best spot for the Raiders. Looked like Branson had it quite easily, but by the spot they're going to have to measure. I believe the Raiders do have the first down, though. And they do. It'll be 1st and 10. So the Raiders have not had a 3 and out so far tonight. Offense moving the ball pretty well, just haven't been able to put together a real long, consistent drive to get themselves in an opportunity to just put any points on the board. But certainly look of the 2 offenses, they've had the most success tonight so far. So this time Holmes with 2 receivers to his left, 2 men in the backfield. It's Branson and Edholm. Hilden in motion, and he kicks it out to Hilden, but Hilden with nowhere to go. That's Tom Ogren and company there putting a stop to that run. And it appears that Stevens Point has made it a point to stop Travis Hilden tonight. Hilden just has not been able to get going here so far. Stevens Point has really keyed on him. So it'll be second down and about 11 as about a 1-yard loss there. And then option play to Hilden. So the Raiders on their own 30-yard line. Holmes sends Branson in motion. The give to Andy Edholm, and he picks up 4 or 5 yards. Nice run there by Andy Edholm into the Stevens Point defense. And that will make for a more manageable third down. So about 3rd down and 7 coming up here for the Raiders. From their own 34-yard line. Holmes comes in with the play. Two receivers to the right. One to the left is Branson. Holmes sends Branson in motion. The fake handoff, and it'll go to Holmes up the middle. He's got a seam, and he could be gone up to the 40, 35, and brought down at about the 27-yard line. Big gain there for Holmes. And we have a yellow hanky on the field, and that's in a place typically called a holding. And that's exactly what the official calls. And the big run by Holmes will come off the board as instead of a 1st and 10 on the Stevens Point 28, the Raiders will be backed up with a 3rd and 19 around their own 22-yard line. So we've seen backbreakers before throughout the season, and that one there delivered by the officials, a holding call, and it'll be 3rd down and long for the Raiders. So that'll take the wind out of the sails. Looked like the Raiders would have their first real opportunity to put some points on the board, and now they're set up with a 3rd and very long from their own 22-yard line. So Holmes once again with Edholm in the backfield. Man in motion is Branson. They fake the handoff. Holmes keeps it himself. Gets up to about the 26-yard line before he's pulled down by Tom Birnbaum. So the Raiders will have to send out their punt team. So after a really promising run there by Holmes, unfortunately called back with a penalty, the Raiders will have to send out their punt team from their own 32-yard line. Ryberg will be standing at about the, we'll call it the 14-yard line, 13-yard line. So once again, DeSourcy and Dominic back to receive. A nice high kick there, and it'll be fair caught. Some contact by the Raiders, but the officials decide not to throw the flag there. But fair caught there by Dominic, and once again, Stevens Point sets up with a pretty good starting field position at about the 47-yard line, their own 47, but close to midfield. The Stevens Point team over the last 3 years has made it to the state semifinal game, but has yet to punch their ticket to state. They were runner-up back in 1976. Alex Plaster with 2 to his left, 2 men in the backfield. He gives the handoff. That is once again Joey Matthey, and Matthey not picking up much, maybe a couple yards there. We'll take it up to the 50, but the Panthers have really made this program into something strong in the last 3 years, with 3 playoff victories, advancing to the state semis each of the last 3 years, but so far have not been able to crack the field at Camp Randall. Looking to do that this season, but they've got a big roadblock in the Hudson Raiders in front of them. This time Plaster looking downfield to throw, and he's got a man. That's caught by DeSourcy inside the Raider 40-yard line down to the 38. Nice looking throw by Plaster and an equally nice catch by DeSourcy. And what I've seen of DeSourcy so far, he looks like quite a receiver. These Panthers throw for about 80, 90 yards a game, so they're not not a big passing team, but definitely have the ability to throw the ball. So it's 1st and 10 for Stevens Point at the Raider 38-yard line. Plaster with 2 receivers to his left, 2 in the backfield, and a tight end set up on the strong side. And the give to Joey Matthew, and he's got a seam deep into the Raider defensive backfield, brought down by Michael Bennett, but that's going to be close to a first down, and it is a first down at the 25-yard line of the Raiders. Pick up there of 13 yards by Joey Matthew. Clock winding down here, just under 4 minutes in the second half. And Plaster under center this time. The give to Jake Tatro, and Tatro picking up some nice yardage. Change of pace back there. Jake Tatro, the fullback, and he takes it down to about the 17-yard line. Nice gain for him, about 8 yards. That'll set up a second down and 2 at the 17-yard line. The officials call a timeout here this time. Looks like Chaz Larson has an equipment issue, so he'll come off the field for a play here as the Raiders tend to whatever's going on with Chaz. And it looks like the Raiders will send in Stephen Berkey to take Chaz Larson's spot. So Plaster set up in the shotgun, 2 receivers to his left, and he fakes the pass, take it around the right side. He throws it downfield, and it's deflected by Luke Hansen. Nice play by Hansen there to get in the face of Alex Plaster and not allow him to get that ball down the field. So it'll be about a 3rd down and 2 here from the 17-yard line for the Panthers. And as this clock ticks down, the Raiders, if they could get a stop here and get to the half with a 0-0 tie, it would mean a lot because the Raiders really have done well in the second half so far this season. This time Plaster under center, 3 backs behind him. The give to Tatro, and he takes it up the middle. Not much going there. The whole host of Raiders take him down, including there on that tackle, Stephen Berkey, the man that came in for Chaz Larson, and Larson back in the field there. But Berkey really put a stop to that run. Nice play for him. For a guy just kind of got into that play due to an equipment issue with Chaz Larson. So this time, once again, Stephen Point sends out that big package. And it's Plaster under center, and he'll take it himself. And I think he's got the first down. Kind of went in there between the seam, between the center and the guard, and picks up the first down easily. A pretty well-executed quarterback sneak there by Alex Plaster. It'll be 1st down and 10 at the Raiders' 14-yard line for Stevens Point. These Raiders trying to keep Stevens Point off the board here late in the second quarter. So the big package out there once again, Plaster under center. And the give to Tatro, and again, the Raiders do a nice job of keeping Tatro from really getting to the second level. That time, Peter Worrell in company in there on the tackle for the Raiders. Pick up there for Tatro of about 3 yards. Will be 2nd down and 7 for Stevens Point. They keep the big fella out there in the offensive backfield. Plaster under center. And they pitch it left. Tatro once again. And right there, nice defensive play there by Jake Hayes, but the flag comes in, and I'm guessing that's going to be a face mask. Once he made that tackle, he slammed the ground. He knew he did it, and that's going to take this from about a 3rd down and 6 to a 3rd down and about 1 with the 5-yard penalty, not an automatic first down. So took it from a point where it would have been pretty difficult for Stevens Point to convert to a very short 3rd down and really about 1.5 foot here for the first down. So the Raiders, with their backs up against the goal line on this 3rd down play. And once again, Stevens Point keeps the big guys in there. This time they set up just to the right of Plaster, and Tatro will follow the blocks to the right side and picks up a couple yards down to about the 3-yard line. Be first down and goal for Stevens Point from the 2.5. So when you've got a guy that weighs 290 pounds or 320 is what Wakowiak is listed at, and they've used him quite well in this big package, running right behind the big fella. You got a 320-pound runner there to set up your tailback. That makes business a little bit easier to tend to, and that's the way Stevens Point runs their offense. Once again, Stakowiak and Tatro kind of gets in ahead of the blocker that time, but pick up about 1 yard. It'll be 2nd and goal from the 1.5-yard line.
2nd and 2.
Clock ticking down here. Under 1.5 minutes to go. Raiders trying to keep Stevens Point out of the end zone as this 2nd quarter winding down, trying to get into the locker room, scoreless tie. Once again, the big fella's out there for Stevens Point. And they'll fake it to Tatro, and Plaster will take it around the end himself. And I believe he has it, and he does. Touchdown, Stevens Point. And Point takes the 6-0 lead with just under 1 minute to go in the half. So the Raiders able to keep Point off the board for most of the half, and finally succumbing to a touchdown here. Keep in mind the Stevens Point football team, they put a lot of points on the board. Their lowest scoring output of the season was 32 against Wausau West. And the snap is back, and the kick is through for the Panthers. Isaac Groshek, who has quite a leg. It's 7-0 Stevens Point. Now this Point offense, probably a little bit shocked by what's going on here so far tonight. They've put up big numbers on the board. They've only been held in the 30s 3 times all season, usually scoring in the 40s or 50s. And so far the Raiders holding this team to just 7 in the first half. But Raiders really haven't had any kind of threat of scoring other than that long run by Bo Holmes, which was unfortunately called back due to penalty, and that really set up that drive there for Stevens Point. So 7-0 Panthers, and Groshek once again set up here to kick off. Raiders looking to make something happen here to possibly tie this game up before the half. Groshek with another deep kick, quite a leg on him, and it's fielded by Smerson at about the 3-yard line. They'll try to take it around the end, but not much to go on there. Stevens Point, pretty fast team on special teams, offense and defense. I would say they're the fastest team that the Raiders have faced so far this season. Kind of all over. They just, when there is a hole, it seems like there's someone else behind them there to kind of close that hole up. But even though they haven't many points on the board, the Raiders have moved the ball well on offense tonight so far. This time from the 20, Holmes with 2 to the left, 1 to the right. That's Hilden in motion. And the give, actually Holmes will keep it himself. And I don't think he picked up, possibly lost a yard there. So it'll be 2nd and 11 from the 19-yard line. As this half under 40 seconds to go here. And if the Raiders can't break something, Raiders will call a timeout. They're going to need to break some sort of play here to put themselves in a position to put some points on the board. But Appleton North on the other side of this bracket took out Oshkosh North earlier today, 19-12. So the winner of this game will take on Appleton North. And if it is the Raiders with both teams from opposite sides of the state, we have to think this will be kind of a neutral site type of football game, possibly in Eau Claire, and really could be right back here on this field in Stevens Point. Eau Claire a little bit closer to Hudson, Stevens Point closer to Appleton North. I'm not really sure what field it would be on, but first things first, the Raiders are going to have to take care of business here tonight to advance to that level 3 game. Bo Holmes with 2 to his left and Edholm in the backfield. Man to his right is Hilden. Hilden in motion. The give to Edholm, and Edholm picks up 4 or 5 yards up to the 24-yard line. But as the clock's ticking here, that's going to be the half, I believe, and it is. So the Raiders go to the locker room trailing 7-0 in this game, and again, with the precision and speed and the scoring ability of Stevens Point, for the Raiders to just give up 7 points and a half of football, that has to be the Panthers' lowest output of the season. But unfortunately for the Raiders, unable to really match that 7 points by Stevens Point. They had an opportunity with the ball across the 50-yard line that was called back by penalty. They'd been around midfield a couple other drives as well, but really unable to take the ball into the Stevens Point, deep into Stevens Point territory, and we go to the halftime 7-0. So we'll be back shortly with the second half of tonight's game. The second half about to get underway here in Stevens Point at Gerke Field on the campus of UW Stevens Point. The Hudson Raiders trailing 7-0 to the Stevens Point Panthers. This, in my recollection, just the 3rd time all season the Raiders have trailed at the half. They earlier this season trailed 6-0 to River Falls before winning that game 13-6 in overtime, and they also trailed Superior 7-0 at half, and they fell in that game 14-7, the only loss so far for the Raiders. Raiders have been a second half team pretty much all season long, and even though the Raiders trailed in this game, they have to feel pretty good about the way they played in the first half. Pretty good on defense, and really they've moved the ball on offense quite well, just not able to put the ball into the end zone. So Jake Dennison about to kick off for Hudson, and the second half is underway, and Dennison with a kick toward the sideline, and it goes out of bounds. And kind of all season long, the Raiders have been kicking directionally, and sometimes when you try to pin someone in their corner to kind of set up the coverage, you will kick it out of bounds. So that's the first time so far the Raiders have kicked off tonight, and not the way they wanted to do it, as Stevens Point will start their first drive of the second half on their own 35-yard line. So pretty good field position for Stevens Point, and I would say that the Panthers have really owned the field position game so far. The clock operator actually started the clock and has let it run down, so the officials stopping the clock here to try to get the clock back to 12 minutes. The clock shouldn't start until an offensive player touches the ball. In college, the clock starts as soon as the kicker kicks the ball, but at this level and also at the pro level, the clock does not start until the receiver touches the ball. And in this case, with the ball going out of bounds, we should be starting this offensive series with 12 minutes left on the clock in the third quarter. So Stevens Point, Alex Plaster on offense, up 7-0. 2 men to his left, 2 in the backfield. They send number 10 in motion. And Plaster with the give. And it's a pickup of roughly 4 yards for Stevens Point. And that will set up 2nd down and 6. As the Panthers with a nice gain of about 4 yards there on 1st down and 10. And that was Joey Matthey. And Matthey once again stepping in there for Austin Sikorsky, who broke his foot last week. And Sikorsky had over 1,400 yards rushing this season. So a pretty big loss for the Panther offense. This time, Plaster sends a man in motion, and once again they give it to Matthey, and Matthey able to pick up a yard or 2. Down out to about the 42, 40, about the 41-yard line, so it'll be 3rd down and about 4 from the 41 for the Panthers. The Raiders really haven't allowed any type of big play other than that scoring drive. They gave up a pass play of about 15 yards and a couple run plays of 7 or 8 yards, but they really done a nice job slamming the door shut on this Stevens Point offense. Plaster with 2 to his left, 2 in the backfield, looking to throw the ball, and he gets it away to Dan DeSourcy, but Tyler Smersna with the immediate tackle, and DeSourcy, perhaps with some frustration there, kind of abused Smersna as he got up off the ground, and Smersna only allowing that pass to go for about a yard. So it'll be 4th down and 3 for Stevens Point as they send out the punter, and the Raiders with Smersna and Michael Bennett set to receive this punt. The snap is good, and the kick is away. Another nice deep kick fielded by Smersna. He's up to the 25 and goes down around the 23-yard line. Nice coverage team work there by Stevens Point. And again, they've got a ton of speed. They really close up those holes in a hurry. So as the Hudson football hits the field, the Raiders will start their first drive of the second half on their own 24-yard line. Bo Holmes with a couple men to his left. And Davey Branson in motion. The give is to Edholm, and Edholm with a little bit of room, but again, that hole closes up quite quickly. Bryce Dominic there with the tackle, and Edholm able to pick up about a yard there. It'll be 2nd and 9 from the Raider 25-yard line. This time the Raiders set up with 2 receivers to Holmes' right. 1 to the left is Davey Branson. Andy Edholm in the backfield. He'll send Hilden in motion. The pass out to the flats to Derek Crumry, and the pass is incomplete as it kind of gets through Crumry's hands. And we'll have a 3rd down and long. We'll call it about 3rd and 9 here for the Raiders from their own 24-yard line. This time Edholm with 2 to his right, 1 to his left. Sends Branson in motion, and he'll fake the handoff to Branson, and Holmes takes it up across the 25-yard line to about the 26, and that's not going to get the Raiders to a 1st down. So the first 3 and out of the evening for the Raiders comes on their opening drive of the 3rd quarter. With the Raiders trailing 7-0, they'll send Caleb Ryberg out to the field to punt this one away. Ryberg standing at his own 10, awaits the snap. Low snap, but Ryberg able to get control of it and sends the kick to about midfield. Bryce Dominic fields it at the 48-yard line, so once again, Stevens Point with pretty good field position. They'll start off their 2nd possession of the evening from the Raider 48-yard line. you're kind of playing with fire, giving an offense like Stevens Point field position like this. Seemingly every drive they're starting at around midfield here. So far the Raider defense able to keep the Panthers out of the end zone all but just one time, trailing 7-0 here. Plaster with 2 men to his left, 2 in the backfield. And the handoff to Joey Matthew, and Matthew gets a little space before he's hauled down by Michael Bennett and Luke Hansen. Picks up about 5 yards there, so Stevens Point takes it across the 50-yard line, and they'll have a 2nd and 5 from the Raider 47-yard line. This time the Panthers with 2 to the right. They'll send DeSorsi in motion to the left. And Plaster the handoff to Matthew once again, and this time he'll take it just about up to the 41-yard line, and that's going to be close to a 1st down for Stevens Point. And indeed it is. They'll move the chains. So Devin Jennings comes in there to make the stop, but not until Matthew's able to pick up the 1st down. So a new set of downs for the Panthers in Raider territory at about the 41.5-yard line. This time Plaster in the shotgun. Fakes the handoff, back to pass, goes to his right. Looking deep downfield, has a man, and it's nearly intercepted. Luke Hansen there with the coverage, and nearly picked that one off and had a chance there to take the ball away from the Panthers, but they'll set up 2nd down and 10 at the 42-yard line. Nice coverage there by Hansen. Plaster with 2 to his right, hands it off to Joey Matthew, and Matthew finds a hole, breaks a tackle, down to the 30, across the 30, and down to the 25 before he's brought down by Luke Hansen. And another 1st down for Stevens Point as they are starting to find some holes in the Raider defense, and they are putting together one of their better drives of the night. Down to the 25-yard line of the Raiders. It'll be another 1st down and 10 for Stevens Point. This time they set up with 2 to the left. Plaster under center. This time they give it to Jake Tatro, and Tatro finds a little opening as well before he's brought down by Hansen and Michael Bennett. So Tatro with a nice gain there as well on 1st down and 10, pickup of about 7 yards, and it's 2nd down and 3 as Stevens Point starting to pick up yardage in larger chunks than they were in the 1st half, and marching the ball down the field and inside the 20 of the Raiders. Raiders leading this game 7-0, just about midway through the 3rd quarter. Plaster, this time the give to Matthew, and Matthew should have the 1st down to about the 18-yard line. And indeed, it is another Panther 1st down. So this Raider defense needing to lock up the Panthers here to try to keep them off the board and keep this game a 1-score football game. Plaster coming in from the sideline with the play. And Stevens Point, again, looking for their 4th straight trip to the level 3 playoffs, and needing a win tonight over Hudson to do that. Plaster fakes the handoff, and he'll go around to the left side, calls for a block, takes it nearly to the goal line, and he's tripped up by Michael Bennett. Bennett with the touchdown saving tackle, and Plaster down to about the 3-yard line. It'll be 1st down and goal for Stevens Point. So they kind of lull the defense with lots of Tatro and Matthew, and this time they fake the handoff, and Plaster takes it around in the bootleg to the left side and all the way down to the 3-yard line. First and goal for Stevens Point. And Plaster, a heck of an athlete. Throwing the ball with some zip, and a nice run there as well, as we're under 5 minutes in this third quarter. Plaster, the handoff to Matthew. Matthew stopped by Arthur Van Zant. But on the second effort, and he is down, does not get into the end zone there. So Van Zant with a nice tackle there that will stop Stevens Point at the 1-yard line. And I thought Plaster had the first down on the last play, but he did not. And now first down and goal here for Stevens Point from the 1-yard line. This time with 3 men behind Plaster. He'll fall forward, and I think he's got the touchdown. The official from the sideline signals touchdown, and it is a 13-0 lead for Stevens Point, and the Raiders have not trailed by this much all season. So the offense of the Raiders going to have to start playing some catch-up as we're down to 4:16 left in the third quarter, and the Raiders about to go down 14 points here, as the kicker for Stevens Point so far has been peerless, and once again Isaac Groshek puts it through, and it's 14-0 Stevens Point with 4:16 to go in the third quarter. Raiders have moved the ball on offense, but have yet to put together a scoring drive, and they're going to need to, as this clock is ticking away on the 2009 season, a season in which the Raiders come into this game Big Rivers Conference champions for the first time, and 9-1. They finished the season 8-1 with a playoff victory last week against Wisconsin Rapids. Come into this game 9-1, but find themselves in a 14-0 hole late in the third quarter. Stevens Point into this game 10-0 as Wisconsin Valley Conference champions. And these two teams will be facing each other next year. They have a non-conference tilt scheduled. So the Raiders drop out of the Somerset game and will play Stevens Point next year in our non-conference schedule. The kick is away, and again, it's a deep one, fielded by Smersna, and he is brought down at the 13-yard line. Caught it close to the end zone. She put a couple feet in the end zone there, but brought it out to the 13-yard line. And that's where the Raiders' drive will start here. It's their second drive of the second half. And Holmes with two receivers to his left, one to the right. And he'll look to the left. It's Hilden. Goes through Hilden's hands, and I believe it's caught by Derek Crumry. And it is. Pick up there of about a yard. And actually will be a pickup of about 5. And right through Hilden's hands and into the hands of Crumry. I'm assuming it was intended for Hilden, but nonetheless, a nice gain for the Raiders on first down. So second down and about 5 here. Holmes will hand it off to Ryberg. Ryberg around the left side. Short gain of maybe a yard or 2.
Number 2, Caleb Ryberg on the carry.
But Ryberg calling for the trainers. Sam Cunningham on the turf and in obvious pain as he's swinging his arms around. The training staff from Hudson comes onto the field. And this is not a good sign. You don't want to see any of your players go down with injury, but in the case of Sam Cunningham, known throughout the conference as probably the best college prospect in the Big Rivers Conference, and certainly the best offensive lineman for the Raiders on the turf at the 20-yard line. With the 3rd down and 3 coming up, and the Raiders down 14-0 in the 3rd quarter. Not sure what happened. There were certainly several players kind of jumping in there to make the tackle, and other players kind of trying to push Ryberg ahead. And when you've got 5 or 6, 7 athletes at anywhere from 175 to 300 pounds running around there trying to make a play, anything can happen. And we just hope for Sam Cunningham that he can get up off the field here. And the trainer's bringing another large bag out of the field. And this is not looking promising for Sam Cunningham. Sam being looked at by several Division I college football programs and Division II college football programs, has his sights set on playing the college game next fall, and we don't want to see an injury to him. And now the Stevens Point trainer will walk out in the field and see if she can offer some assistance. This isn't something that really anyone wants to see, even as an opponent. You know, you don't want your opponent to face an injury. And anytime you see a player on the field, you know, it can be any moment this could happen to you as well. It looks like the training staff has taken out an air cast. And you're attaching it to Sam's leg. So not a good sign for Sam Cunningham. And as the Raider and Stevens Point training staff attend to Sam Cunningham, one other Big Rivers Conference team in play tonight, Menominee, had also advanced to level 2 with a win Tuesday night, and today they were on the road at Merrill, and they fell to Merrill this afternoon 13-6. So Merrill will face Marshfield next week in level 3 for an opportunity to go to the state semifinals, and it appears that the Raider training staff is calling over some players to help Cunningham to his feet. And of course, another very big upset this afternoon. Menominee Falls taking on number 1 ranked Homestead. And Homestead has been in the state championship the last 3 years, winning it twice over the last 3 years. They fall to Menominee Falls today 27-7. Don't get them confused with Menominee. Menominee Falls from the eastern part of the state. But Dave Keel's Homestead team goes down to Menominee Falls 27-7. And that's about as big as upset as you'll see in high school football. Kind of a freak thing. Homestead did not get their paperwork in to host a playoff game. So even though they were the number 1 team going in, the number 1 seed in the bracket going in, they cannot play a home game, and knocked off today on the road at Menominee Falls 27-7. A score like that, you can't think a home field would make much of a difference, but nonetheless. Sam Cunningham up on one leg as the trainer's supporting his right leg. and walking him off the field. Gets a nice round of applause from getting up on his feet, but doesn't look good. When you have an air cast on someone's leg like that, it's usually an indication of a break. So Sam Cunningham will be on his way, I'm sure, to the hospital this evening. So not a good set of circumstances for the Raiders, with Cunningham going down and facing a third down here, trailing 14-0. But our thoughts go out to Sam as he's going to try to recover from this injury. Bo Holmes sends Travis Hilden in motion, and he fakes the handoff. Holmes looking down the field, throwing down the field, finding Derek Krumrie, and Krumrie forced out of bounds, but he does catch the ball for a first down to the 42-yard line. So really about the worst possible thing you could have happen with Sam Cunningham going down, followed up by probably one of the better offensive plays for the Raiders. Make it first down and 10 from their own 42. Nice looking throw by Holmes and a nice catch by Krumrie. Two to the right for the Raiders. Branson, the man in motion. They'll fake the give to Edholm, and Holmes falls forward to about midfield. Pickup of about 3 yards. And that'll bring the Raiders to just about midfield here. Call it the 49. It'll be second down and 7 for Hudson. So this time, 2 to the right, 2 to the left. Edholm in the backfield. They'll send Hilden in motion, so you'll have 3 to the left. Holmes looking downfield, and he's got Krumrie once again across the middle, and this time down to the 36-yard line. And this is the deepest that the Raiders have been in as far as field position all night long. So first and 10 for the Raiders at the 37, as the offense kind of starting to pass the ball as they try to cut this 14-0 deficit in the third quarter, late in the third quarter. Hilden in motion, and the give is to Edholm, and Edholm across the 35-yard line. Pickup of about 3. It'll make it second and 7 from the 34-yard line. And the Raiders starting to make hay, and they need to here, trailing 14-0. This time, offense with 2 to the right, 2 to the left. Edholm in the backfield. Send Hilden in motion. The fake handoff to Hilden, and it goes across the middle, and it's intercepted. Intercepted by Stevens Point, and looks like Tanner Kolbach is off to the races, and Davey Branson going to try to give pursuit, but for not, as Tanner Kolbach scores to extend the Stevens Point lead to 20-0, and I don't want to say that'll do it, but that certainly will make things much more difficult for the Raiders as they look to be about to get back into this football game, and Kolbach really turned the page on that. Raiders now trailing 20-0, and you can quite definitely say this is the largest margin that the Raiders have trailed by all season long, as Groshek comes on to kick the extra point, and it's down and good. 21-0. Stevens Point ahead of the Hudson Raiders, and the Raiders have ended their season in each of the previous 2 years on this field, and hoping to come in here tonight and hand an upset victory, or come out of here tonight with an upset victory over Stevens Point. But trailing 21-0 in the third quarter, it's going to be difficult from this point on, and the Raiders unable so far tonight to put the ball inside the 20-yard line, much less the end zone of Stevens Point. So certainly a tough task ahead of them now, trailing 21-0, and Holmes and company look to have been moving the ball downfield well with the pass up until that point. Tanner Kolbeck essentially playing center field there, and just pulled that Holmes pass down and made a nice move to the left side of the field, and was off to the races as Stevens Point takes a game-changing touchdown there, and Groshek to kick off. Smersna fields it at the 1-yard line, and he'll take it up to about the 20. And the Raiders really have been on the wrong side of the field position game tonight as well. Stevens Point has taken advantage of field position all night long. It seems like the Raiders are always starting deep in their own territory. Point with a very gifted kicker in Groshek. The Raiders offense back onto the field, and the flag flies already. This game really, we've only seen 2 or 3 penalties so far tonight. One of them a pretty difficult one in the Raiders, and that'll be an offsides against Stevens Point, so it'll give the Raiders a 1st down and 5 from the 25. Now that one big penalty on the Raiders, goes down as a 10-yard penalty, but it erased about a 50-yard run, so essentially a 60-yard penalty back in the second quarter. And this time the handoff to Hilden as he scoots around the outside, but not much, picking up a couple yards there. Bryce Dominic with the tackle, and Dominic just a junior, and he'll be a guy that the Raiders will have to look out for next season as they plan to take on Stevens Point in their non-conference schedule. Some things possibly could be reshuffled in the WIA and the football side of things. Could end up in a conference essentially with Stevens Point, but either way, the Raiders will be playing Stevens Point next year in the regular season. That time it's Holmes, and he picks up a couple yards, and that'll make it a 3rd down and short from the 29-yard line. And Bo Holmes coming back onto the field, setting up 3rd down and about 1 here. Sends Branson in motion, and a whole host of Panthers jump off sides. We'll see if they're drawn. And the officials will have a little conference here, and referee will come out and tell us if it's a 1st down or a 3rd down. It'll be 1st down Raiders. 2 penalties on Stevens Point in 3 downs, and 10 yards worth of penalties so far on this drive. We'll make it 1st and 10 for the Raiders on their own 34-yard line, and that will bring the close of the 3rd quarter. Just about a second left after they started the chains there, so they'll move to the other side of the field as the Raiders, trailing 21-0, going into the 4th quarter here, will need to put some points on the board if they want to get back into this game and have an opportunity to advance to level 3 of the playoffs, which has not been done by the Raiders. This again, they're just their 2nd time in the modern era of advancing to level 2. And this is a program that has come a long way. Coach Adam Cowles has done a nice job with these guys. And again, 1st conference championship for the Raiders, and an opportunity here the 1st time in Division I to go to the level 2 playoffs. So this is a program that's on its way up, but unfortunately right now trailing Stevens Point 21-0, and Stevens Point, a program that is looking to get to the next level. They've been to the level 4 of the playoffs over the last 3 years, but just have been unable to make their way to Camp Randall Stadium. They lose in the state semis. They've taken a loss there in the last 3 years. So both teams here trying to get to the next level. Raiders trailing 21-0. Bo Holmes surveys the defense, looking to pass, throws it deep downfield, and it's going to be overthrown, but the flag does hit the field, intended for Derek Krumrye, and it looks like that's probably going to be a penalty on Clay Giese, who's done a nice job in coverage all game long, but I believe this is going to be against Stevens Point. And it is a hold against Stevens Point, so that should be a first down and 10, as that would be a 10-yard penalty. So the officials will march this one off, and it should be first down and 10 for the Raiders from the 44-yard line. So as we start this fourth quarter, the Raiders trying to get their offense going here, trying to get back in this ball game by scoring a touchdown. Really, it's been a closer game than what the score indicates, but the score is the final verdict. So Branson in motion, and they'll fake the handoff to Branson. Holmes looking downfield once again, throwing downfield, and it's going to be incomplete, intended for Derek Krumrye. And Krumrye, also a junior, so we'll look for him to be also, he's been a big part of the Raider offense so far this season, but certainly as a senior next year, we should look for him to do some good things in this Raider offense. So Holmes with 2 to his left, 2 to the right. Edholm in the backfield. And they'll fake the handoff to Edholm, and he kicks it out to Branson, but he kind of pitched the ball out of there as he was being hit, and not a very nice looking pitch, and Branson did the smart thing, just kind of laid on it to keep it from being a disaster. So it'll be third down and about 14 for the Raiders at their own 41-yard line. This time Holmes with 2 in the backfield. He sends Branson in motion, makes the handoff. He'll take it himself, but nowhere to go, as a whole host of Stevens Point Panthers, Sam Bauer, Bryce Dominic and company there to make the tackle on Holmes, and Caleb Ryberg will have to come onto the field. Fourth down and 12 at the Raiders' 42-yard line. So we're kind of getting to a point where you may want to think about going for it on fourth down, but at 4th and 12, tough to come up with a play that'll be successful, needing 12 yards here. Nice snap, and the kick is off, and it'll be fielded by Stevens Point at the 31, and that seems to be the deepest field position they've had to start from for a long time in my recollection. And the Point offense will come onto the field. So considering this high-powered Stevens Point offense, the defense has really done a nice job, really only allowing about 14 points tonight. The other touchdown coming on a defensive touchdown. So this defense really has performed well, considering Stevens Point averages nearly 40 points a game. And the give up the middle to Tatro, and nothing doing there is Chaz Larson and Arthur Vinzant with the stop, and that's probably a loss. Now they'll call it a gain of about 1, as it's 2nd and 9 from the 32 for Stevens Point. Raider defense needing a stop here to try to get this team back into the football game. Alex Plaster sends a man in motion, and the give is up the middle to Matthew, and Matthew has a seam on his way over the 50. Michael Bennett in pursuit, and Bennett will make the tackle, but not until Matthew will take the ball down to the 27-yard line. So that's really the first time so far Stevens Point has been able to really break something open. And they do it in a big way, a run for 51 yards for Matthew, as Stevens Point will set up shop now well inside Raider territory at the 27-yard line. 1st and 10 for Point. leading 21-0 as there's about 10 minutes left here in this fourth quarter and the season ticking away for the Raiders. This time Plaster in the shotgun. He'll take it himself, kind of sent towards the center there by Luke Hansen, and Arthur Van Zant and company make the tackle.
Plaster on the carry, tackle number 45, Arthur Van Zant.
Check that. Jake Hayes kind of made Plaster go to the inside, and that's where Arthur Van Zant made the tackle. Gain of about 2 yards for Plaster, and second down and 8 from the 25-yard line for Stevens Point. Plaster with one receiver on either side. The give to Matthey, and Matthey again able to stay on his feet and take it down to about the 15-yard line. Looks like they'll mark it at about the 16-yard line, and that's a first down and 10 for Stevens Point. So if the Raiders want to stay in this football game here, they're going to need to come up with a turnover at this point, as Stevens Point about to deliver the dagger here as they are inside the red zone once again. And once again, Plaster with receivers on both sides of the line, 2 in the backfield, and he'll go to his right on the option, keep it himself. And short loss there.
Plaster on the keeper. Stop by 13,
Tackled by Jake Hayes. And it'll be second down and 11 from the 17-yard line. So that's a good way to set this offense up in a difficult circumstance and try to come up with a big stop here. The Raiders need a stop badly here to stay in this football game. As Stevens Point approaches the line of scrimmage, this time they'll send 2 receivers to the short side of the field. Plaster with 2 men in the backfield, and whistles blow as Stevens Point calls a timeout. So Coach Pete McAdams of Stevens Point didn't like something he saw. He calls a timeout, realizing the situation here with the Panthers having an opportunity to put this football game away. And the Raiders haven't given up more than 14 points all season long, and they've given up 21 so far to this Stevens Point team, and the Panthers looking to put the Raiders away with the score, as we are sitting here with about 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter and 8 minutes left in the Hudson Raiders season. If they can't turn around a huge deficit, they've got their work cut out for them, but senior-laden team and a team that certainly is not going to lay down for anybody. Raiders looking for a stop here. And the timeout comes to a conclusion, and Plaster and company this time with 2 receivers on the wide side of the field. And Plaster in the shotgun. Plaster back to pass, looking for a screen, and it's almost intercepted. That time Ryan Weiler and Plaster threw it right into Weiler's hands, and he's going to be thinking about that one tonight. Unfortunately, Weiler just not able to come down with that football. But it will set up a third down and long for Stevens Point, a 3rd and 11, and if the Raiders can get a stop here and force Stevens Point to, at the most, a long field goal attempt, it would give the Raiders an opportunity to keep this to a 3-possession football game. This time Plaster, 2 receivers to his left, and he'll look to pass, rolling to his left, throwing deep for the end zone. He's got a man, and it's a touchdown for Stevens Point. Dan DeSourcy, he is quite a receiver out there, makes a nice play on that ball. Tyler Smersna really had pretty good coverage. The sophomore staying with DeSourcy step for step, but DeSourcy just had position on him and jumped up there and pulled that one down. And it is 27-0 Stevens Point, and perhaps the door has just been nailed shut on a possibility for a Raiders victory tonight. Groshek in to kick the extra point. It's up and it's good. 28-0 Stevens Point. And the Raiders at this point are going to be looking to just put some points on the board here to just try to make this a respectable score at 28-0. Tough way to lose to end the season. Again, the Raiders have ended their season the last 2 years, and this looks to be the third year right here on this field against Stevens Point. And you know, there's only one team, Division I, that's going to end their season on a happy note. But I just think the Raiders felt like they wanted to come in here tonight and deliver a little payback to Stevens Point, and this game just kind of has gotten away from the Raiders. And here's Groshek to kick off. The kick is up, and it's into the end zone. That'll be a touchback. Raiders will start this drive on their own 20-yard line. So again, that field position, Raiders just not able to get that great field position that seems like Stevens Point has had just about all evening long. So this time, two receivers to the left end, right at home in the backfield. They'll send Caleb Ryberg in motion. And the toss out to Travis Hilden, and that goes through his hands and be incomplete. So it'll be 2nd and 10 for the Raiders on their own 20. And it appears that Hudson will be throwing the ball around a little bit here, trying to get themselves onto the board before the conclusion of this game. And Holmes won't send anyone in motion this time. Looking deep down the field, he's got a man, but Caleb Ryberg unable to pull it down. Nice coverage there by Bryce Dominic, and really couldn't have thrown it much better than that. He really put it in a spot where Ryberg had a chance and no one else really did, but still would have been a really difficult catch for Ryberg and unable to bring it in. So 3rd down and 10 this time for the Raiders after 2 incompletions. Davey Branson, the man in motion, and the toss is out to Hilden, and Hilden will pick up 6 or 7 yards. It'll be 4th down and about 3, and it looks like the Raiders are going to go ahead and go for it, which you have to like. I mean, you just can't play for the let's play to try to keep it a close score. I think you want to coach your team never to give up, and this game looks to be over at 28-0, but you don't want to feel like the game's over. So 4th and 3, Raiders go for it. Bo Holmes completes the pass to Derek Krumrie, and that's going to be very close to 1st down yardage. I believe he has it. No, they say he's actually was incomplete. Incomplete. Krumrie unable to come down with that ball. So it will be 1st and 10 for Stevens Point. You got to like the attempt there to go for it on 4th and 3 at this point. I mean, there's no point in playing not to get blown out. I mean, even at 28-0 at this point, midway through the 4th quarter, you still have to play like you're going to try to win. And Stevens Point able to take over. This time the give up the middle to Matthey, and Matthey will take it down to about the 22-yard line. Pickup of about 5 yards.
2nd and 5.
And I would guess that Stevens Point will be more than happy just to run this football and try to run some clock here. This time Plaster with Matthey behind him. And we'll give it to Matthey. And this time Arthur Van Zant and company able to put a stop to the run, and they were all trying to reach in there and pull that ball loose, but his forward motion had stopped before the Raiders able to pull that ball out of there, and it'll be, and Matthew receiving an ovation from the crowd as he comes off the field. Again, he comes into the game tonight as a starter, but typically a second stringer, as Austin Sikorsky, Stevens Point's lead running back, injured, broke his foot last week. He had over 1,400 yards and unable to go, but Matthew doing a great job in relief of him. This time, it looks like Plaster will keep it himself and tries to throw it downfield, but it's incomplete. Michael Bennett with the coverage. The toss to Alex Pazinski, and it is incomplete. So it'll be 4th and 3 for Stevens Point, and they'll send out Isaac Groshek to attempt what will most likely be about a 37-yard field goal. And I think this is one of those things that I don't think Stevens Point is really trying to rub it in. I think they're trying to work on something for perhaps later on in the playoffs. They may need Groshek to make a field goal like this, and to have an opportunity to kick one in a game situation is really valuable to a coach. So they'll send Groshek out to try to kick the extra point. And it's a pretty nice snap, but kick is low and wide, and it'll be no good. So the Raider defense able to keep Stevens Point off the board, with the Panthers taking over pretty good field position off the failed 4th down attempt. But Raider defense able to keep them off the board, and now it's time for the Raider offense with under about 5 minutes to go here. They need to get something going and try to put the ball into the end zone before this game comes to an end. More out of the give to Edholm, and not much going for Edholm here. You'd kind of like to see him throw all the time, but you can't just give up on the run game. You kind of have to keep the defenders a little bit honest. So Coach Cowles will go with the run on 1st down. Edholm picks up about a yard. So 2nd down and 9 from the 21 for the Raiders. This time Holmes looking for the snap, looking to throw, throws downfield for Davey Branson, and Branson pulls it down at about the 41-yard line, and that'll move the chains. Raiders moving with a little bit of a swing in their step here, trying to get something going here before this game comes to an end, trailing 28-0. 1st down and 10 at around the 40-yard line. 2 to the left, 2 to the right for Holmes. Man in motion is Branson. That'll bring 3 to the right. And Holmes looking downfield, but it's incomplete. Intended for Krumrai once again. So Krumrai has kind of built his reputation with Bo Holmes and seems to have become his favorite receiver. Zach Beinlich, kind of one of the favorite receivers of Holmes earlier in the season, unfortunately injured and out for the season. So Derek Krumrai, a junior, has come on and really done a nice job with this Raider team. And Davey Branson goes in motion. Holmes looking to the left. Under pressure, will pull it down, take it himself. Over the 50-yard line, makes a nice spin move all the way down to about the 45. So a nice run there by Holmes. Picks up about 15 yards down to the 45-yard line of Stevens Point. And the Raiders look to have something going here. Bo Holmes eluded about 5 or 6 would-be tacklers there, able to pick up that 1st down and 10. This time the man in motion is Hilden and tosses it out to Branson. Branson down to about the 41-yard line. Pickup of 4 on that short pass. Will be 2nd down and 6 for the Raiders. On their 41, that's a high percentage pass, kind of effectively a run play. But worked quite well, and the Raiders in business here at 2nd and 6. This time Holmes takes the snap, looking left, throws it for Krumrai, and Krumrai really pulls that out of the Stevens Point defender's hands. Slant over to the right side, and Krumrai made a nice play on that ball, because if he was hesitant there, that could have been intercepted. So nice job by Holmes there to have faith in Krumrai, and Krumrai comes through for him. Moves the chains. 1st and 10 for the Raiders at the 30-yard line. Raiders trying to make something happen here as this game's winding down, trailing 28-0. Holmes scrambling to his left. He'll pull it down and then throw it, and it'll be incomplete. Intended for Krumrai. Stevens Point with an opportunity to intercept it, but pass goes incomplete, and it's 2nd down and 10. Well, as this game winds down, Raiders trying to put the ball in the end zone here. Not the way the Raiders would like to end the season, but here's Holmes looking over the defense. Looking to throw left, going deep, going for the end zone, and nearly intercepted, but slips through the hands and intended once again for Krumrai. But Raiders looking to be coming up on the wrong side of this game, and just want to say thanks to our sponsors and thanks to this football team. It was a real pleasure covering them this year, and unfortunately, again, the season only ends happily for one team, and but the Raiders have no reason to hang their heads. Nice season, and this time Holmes will keep it himself, fakes the handoff, takes it across the 20, and that should be good enough for another 1st down as the Raiders keep moving the chains, trying to put some points up on the board before this game comes to an end. But the Raiders, nothing to hang their heads about. First ever Big Rivers Conference championship, and just their 2nd playoff win this season, advancing here to the level 2 playoffs. But it appears that the Raiders' 2009 run about to come to an end. This time, the handoff to Edholm, and Edholm down to about the 16, 17-yard line. But a real pleasure here for me and for Paul Winkles and Pete Anderson to cover these games. Really have enjoyed it. It's kind of sad for these seniors and sad for these senior parents to see this season come to an end, but here's like Smith in motion. The throw downfield for Krumrai, and it's incomplete. Both Krumrai and the defender kind of frustrated that they weren't able to come up with that ball. It'll be 3rd down and about 7 yards here. As the Raiders still working to get this ball into the end zone from the 17-yard line. Man in motion is Hilden. And the toss out to Branson. Branson across the 15, across the 10. And he's pushed out of bounds at about the 10-yard line.
Holmes pass complete to number 11, Davey Branson. Back by 25, Bob Gregory.
That's going to bring up 4th down.
Brings up 4th and inches.
4th and inches from the 10-yard line, but the Raiders have a lot to build on. Come out of this again with that conference championship and lots of seniors playing their last high school football game, but a lot of juniors and sophomores and promising football team for next season as well. Holmes from the 10-yard line, 4th and inches. He'll fake the handoff. He'll take it himself across the 5, and he's going to score. Touchdown, Raiders. And that cuts the lead to 28-6, but not much time left in the clock. But that's a score that just shows that this team is not backing down. And Bo Holmes, his last play as a high school quarterback, able to put it into the end zone. And even though it was a frustrating night and a night they're not going to win, at least he'll walk off the field as a scoring football player here. And it looks like the Raiders are going to go for 2. They send Branson in motion, and Branson's open, and the toss out there to Bo Holmes, and a little bit of foreshadowing there. Holmes handing the torch off to Davey Branson. Branson expected to be the quarterback next season as a junior. Had plenty of playing time this year when Holmes was injured and looked pretty good. Did a nice job for the Raiders, and he's probably you don't want to guarantee anyone a job in November, but has to be the front runner for the quarterback position next year. Raiders also have Luke Miller, a sophomore, who has looked promising as well for the Raiders. And that's, again, a tribute to this coaching staff and these players. They've started to build a program. Things looked pretty bad after last year, after losing all those seniors. A lot of people didn't have much faith in this Hudson team, but they come up with really their best season in 25 years, winning the conference. So we've reached a point now in Hudson where we don't rebuild, we reload. And the kickoff by Dennison, he'll also be returning next year. Dennison, a junior. And Stevens Point almost broke it, but they will start this series on the 41-yard line. Not much to play for here at this point with under a minute to go. But the Raiders will be returning Caleb Ryberg, a sophomore who saw quite a bit of action, or a junior saw quite a bit of action. Austin Lenzen, Spencer Corum. Those are juniors that have seen the field of play quite a bit. Tyler Smersna, sophomore, started in the defensive backfield all season long and really a speedster. Looking forward to seeing him evolve as a player. And Stevens Point up here, they've taken Plaster out of the game, and the run ahead for about a yard here. But Jake Dennison is a junior, will be returning next year. He saw a lot of time. Matt Cryer, really the only guy back on the offensive line, a junior. And unfortunately for Matt, he saw some injury tonight too, on and off the field, and didn't get to play as much as he would like to. But he'll be back as a junior. Derek Krumrye, we've seen him tonight. Matt Strakota, been on the field tonight as well. I mean, this future looks bright for the Hudson Raiders, and even though tonight comes to an end, there's Chaz Larson, a senior that figures to be playing some college ball next fall as well. It'll bring up a third down and long, but at this point, the Raiders not going to call any timeouts to lengthen this game. But been a great season for the Raiders, and it's about to come to an end. But again, it's been a pleasure to join you, and it's been a pleasure to see this Hudson Raider team. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I have. As Stevens Point will approach the line of scrimmage here on third down. And the handoff up the middle doesn't get much. And that's going to bring this game to a close. So the Hudson Raiders season ends in Stevens Point. Once again, the Raiders falling to the Panthers 28-8, this time in level 2 of the playoffs. And again, the Raiders with nothing to hang their heads on. They are conference champions of the Big Rivers Conference and looking to come back next year just as strong. Not sure what the conference makeup is going to look like, as the WIAA is looking at changing the way that they build what they're going to call districts that may or may not go through. But even if it does not go through, it looks like the Raiders have scheduled Stevens Point for next year. So we'll be playing this game again come next fall. But again, for the Channel 15 Hudson North Hudson TV football crew, I'm Chris Larson. Thanks for watching this season. Thanks for watching tonight. It's been a great season, but it comes to an end, and we will see you next year. Good luck to these Raider football players as they start to look ahead to life and possibly life playing college football. So thanks for watching, and we will see you next year. The Raiders falling tonight 28-8 to Stevens Point. Hudson Raider football is brought to you by Lancer Auto Care in St. Paul and by the Hudson Benchwarmers Club. Thanks to our sponsors for their support.